Well, hello, beautiful people, and welcome to my channel. What shame gang? So, hello, beautiful people. Hi, YouTube family. Long time no see. I know that y'all never see me go live. This is something new. This is actually something that God has me doing in this season because I did not want to do this, but I have been trying to post my last video that I recorded for almost 3 months now. So, for those of you who follow me and who are watching, I last posted a short, pretty much giving an introduction of a new video that I was going to post soon. That soon 3 months because literally, no matter how hard I try, constantly, constantly, the video is not uploading. Instead, he's saying that it was aborted, that it was canceled, and all these things. So here I am, family, going live. I my plan was to kind of like take notes from the last video and go off the whim, but it was so much that was said in this video, and I don't want to miss anything. I know that the Holy Spirit will definitely give me the things to say, but I just felt like my initial video that I've been trying to post, which this is it right here, was such a great one. So, my plan is to kind of like hold the phone up to one another and then just like record it as if it's like in real time. But this video is long, it's like really, really long. And I just want to say hello to all the new followers, all the new subscribers. Um, I pray that if you are watching this live or if you do watch it in the replay, that God speaks directly to your spirit, whatever it is that He wants to reveal to you through my testimony, through my story. And I pray that if you are here, that God truly has led you here. And I truly believe that those who will cross this live is was sent here because they needed to be. Because I don't have like a large following, but I am believing God for my channel to grow in His timing. And so yeah, this is out of ordinary for me, and I'm really uncomfortable right now. But like I said, I'm gonna be obedient and go live. And yeah, I want to. Let me see. I wrote notes, but yeah, I want to kind of go ahead and record from my previous recording. And for those of you who are watching right now, um, I pray that you stay into the end. And like I stated, I pray that it blesses you. So I'm going to go ahead and record my phone. Hello to the viewer who's watching right now. And then, yeah, God bless you. What shame game? Hello, YouTube viewers, and welcome to my channel. What shame game day? I am back with another video, continuing my series of how God confirmed that He wanted me to move to Georgia. So I'm gonna try to sum this video up so it's not lengthy and drawn out, but just wanted to pick up from where I left off in the last video about my transition from the hotel that God initially, how He sent me to. Y'all know what I'm saying. The stranger's house that I met at, and I stayed. God sent me to, and I stayed at her house for, I want to say, 3 days. And so Rewind. When I first came to Georgia and I checked into my room, which was February 25th of 2024. At time of check-in, the general manager asked me how long did I think I was going to be staying at that particular hotel. And God gave me the date of August 1st. And so at that time, I did not know that August 1st had a significance to it, right? And so my birthday is July 30th, so it was 2 days after my birthday. And so it just naturally flowed out of my mouth, and I was like August 1st. And so fast forward, when God removed me from the hotel, which was mid-July, I want to say around July 14th, around that time, he removed me from the hotel then. And so I went in between two different hotels from that time up until God led me to go back to the hotel that he sent me to. And then that Venezuelan worker offered for me and my son to come stay at her house for as long as I needed to in her spare bedroom. And so then God removed me from that place. And I ended up calling this particular transitional housing program that God had put in my path back in May of 2024. God put it on my heart to reach out to this particular place. And so before I left the hotel, um, I had tried contacting them because like I said, I knew that it was time to go. And so when I was trying to contact this particular transitional housing program, there was no openings. Okay, and they told me to just keep calling back. They didn't know when it was going to be any openings. And so um, when I initially got to the Venezuelan woman's house, which was around July 19th, God then gave me the instructions to reach out to that transitional housing program again. And so when I did, the doors was open and they transferred me to a intake case manager. And I ended up talking to this particular person over the phone, and I was told that the next available appointment in person was July 31st. And so again, it's July 19th, so I was like, that's fine. I would have to figure it out between now and then, but I would be at the appointment. And so they told me everything that I needed, and then that conversation ended. And so again, I was at the Venezuelan woman's house, and I was like, Lord, I know that she gave me the option to stay here as long as I need. But I asked Father God that you close the door if this is not a place that you want me to get comfortable at. And just carry me from place to place, wherever that may be, until I get to this appointment. Because I had about a good almost 2 weeks before that appointment was going to come available. And so, long story short, I was there for about 9 days. And so, around about July 28th, that's when God closed the door to that Venezuelan woman's house. And so, as I said in the last video, she said that her husband had family members that needed to come to the U.S. to escape I don't know how to pronounce it, y'all, but y'all know what I'm saying. They had to escape that place and come to the United States because there was a situation going on with the presidency there. And it was just like a lot of violence and stuff like that. So they was just trying to get to a safe haven place. And so she needed that spare bedroom for her husband's family and whatever. And so I was just like, okay, cool. But thank you for the time that you allowed me and my son to stay here. And so when I left there, I went to a cousin's house that stays in a different part of Georgia, about an hour away from where I was at that particular time. And so they extended their the opening to their house. It was just like, you could stay here for about 2 to 3 days because we don't have the space to accommodate a long stay, but you're definitely willing to come and stay for as long as these few days. And so I was just like, okay, cool. Excuse me. So I ended up going there, and so that day I was doing an Instacart. And so my last Instacart that I had did before going out there, because I need to make some money to get for some gas to make it out there. That last Instacart, the customer did not come outside. I could not gain entry to their gated community complex to be able to get in to deliver the order, and they weren't answering the phone. So that order was canceled, and I was then able to keep the items because normally you return it to the store, but a lot of stores here in Georgia does not take they don't return the items for Instacart. Like it's just like a loss or whatever altogether. And so normally as the shopper, I get to keep it. So that's what happened. And it was crazy because this particular order had like um packages of paper towels, eggs, cases of water. Like they had like a lot of stuff. And so God gave me provision to go to my cousin's house with. So when I went to her house, they didn't even have to feed me. And I brought food to them and items to them. And so in the midst of them being a blessing to me, that Instacart being canceled was a blessing for them because they needed some things. And it was just perfect timing how God had lined everything up. And so when I came to their house, I didn't come empty handed. Not saying that I had to come with something, but God had strategically just allowed things to line up that way. And so when I got to their house, I stayed there. Like I said, I get there, I want to say about on July 28th and 28th, 29th. And so or the 27th maybe, because I remember so my birthday was on the 30th, and I was just like, I asked my cousin, like, do you mind if I stay at least for my birthday so I can celebrate my birthday with y'all or whatever? And she was like, yeah, oh, absolutely, that's no problem. And so I was just like, okay, cool. And so I was like, I'm gonna go to Publix and get my cake because Publix gives you a free cake for free on your birthday. And so I was like, I'm gonna just go get my free cake and then we could just enjoy the cake or whatever. I could get some ice cream, blah, blah, blah. And so they was like, cool, that sounded like a plan. And so that's what I ended up doing. So mind you, my appointment for this transitional housing program was on July 31st. July 31st came, so I ended up having this dream on my birthday, okay? And so ended up staying, spent the night, woke up on the 31st of July, and I received the email that same morning saying that my appointment had to be canceled and rescheduled for August 1st. Now, rewind. When I moved to Georgia and God sent me to this hotel, February 25th, he led me to tell the GM that I wanted to stay until August 1st. So here we are. February, March, April, May, June, July. 6 months later, 7 months, because we in August now. Here we are, 7 months later, and God is showing me what the significance of that date was, which was me going into this intake interview to get into this program on August 1st. So went to this place, met with women, and so I told my cousin, like, hey, I know that you said that I can stay until my birthday, and I plan to leave the morning of July 31st. I'm going to stick to that. Okay, I'm not going to ask y'all to stay any more additional days. I appreciate the time that y'all did allow me to stay, but I am going to leave as I asked for an additional day, and I'm going to stick to that, and I'm going to go. And so there's another extended cousin that I have that lives here, and so it was just put on my heart to reach out to her mother and ask if I can stay at her house. And so after I left my cousin's house, because I don't want to feel like a burden. After I left my cousin's house, my first cousin's house, I called my other cousin's mother, and she was like, "Oh yeah, for sure, you can come out here." I said, "I just need a couple of days, at least through the weekend, because this is on when I left. My appointment was on a Thursday, so I ended up going to their house I ended up going into my cousin's mother's house on a Wednesday, and it was crazy because on my way out there, no wait, rewind. Let me think. Yes. Okay. So, let me think. So I ended up going to this appointment for this transitional housing program, and there were certain qualifications that I needed to meet in order to be in there, including I needed car insurance and I needed to prove registration on my car. at this particular time, my registration was expiring, or it was expired, and I did not have insurance. Thank God that he covered me that whole entire time that I was pretty much rat and dirty, but I did not have the funds to get any of those things at that time. And so I reached out and called my dad in Chicago, and I was just like, can you help me get my plate sticker? Because I need it in order to be on the premises at this particular place, or my car won't be able to be there. I would have to park it somewhere else. And so he was like, I don't have the money, but I'll work at, I'll help you out or whatever, but I really don't have it. And so, um, while I was on my way to the cousin's mother's house, my tire blew out on the 285 here in Georgia on the highway. And while my dad was going to get my plate sticker, his tire blew out in Chicago and he fell in a ditch. So he called me as this is happening. It's both happening to us at the same time in different states. And I needed that plate sticker in order to be able to finish my submission of being accepted into this program and to be able to park on the premises. And so literally, I'm like, Lord, really? But I knew it was an attack. I knew it was an attack from the enemy. The enemy was mad. So I'm like, okay, not trying to be insensitive, but I checked, made sure my daddy was good. And I was like, are you still able to get the sticker though? I'm sorry that happened. I'm not trying to sound selfish and none of that. Like I said, I made sure he was good, but I was like, are you still able to get it, or do I need to find like another means, or like what? And so he was like, I'm still gonna get it, but now I gotta get my car fixed, blah, 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 boom. So, anyways, everything ended up working out. He got the sticker. I had a picture of the registration. I just showed the lady in the program. So I showed the lady in the program. Okay, so I had the appointment, and then I was staying with my cousin's mother. And so when I went to the appointment, the lady pretty much told me that I had to wait for my background check and all that stuff to come through. Sometimes it takes a couple of days, but normally when the background check comes through, you move in like right away. And so she told me to make sure that while everything was going through the rotation with the background check and all that being ran, make sure that I get my car insurance and make sure that I get my registration. So she told me about this app where you can get car insurance and pay daily. So I looked into that, and then that's how I ended up getting insurance. So like I said, I didn't have no money to do any of that stuff. And so I was paying like $5-6 a day for insurance. So I ended up paying it up for like a week. And then I just showed that proof, like I said, when I seen the lady again. So this program that God had sent me to was put in my path back in May of 2024 when I was at the hotel. And when God first brought it up to me, somebody suggested it, I was like, Lord, I know you lying. I'm like, I was in my mind when the person was suggesting it. I'm like, because I was getting a check, and I talked about this in a previous video. I was getting hotel assistance, so I ended up getting a check for like a week to cover my hotel room expenses. But God not only sent provision through them, He sent the whole reason of me going there was not only for provision, but it was also for God to put in my path the place that He ended up sending me to about 3 months later, which was the program that I'm talking about, 3-4 months later. And so He brought it back full circle. And so when He brought it to me initially back in May of 2024, I'm like, Lord, I know you lying. I know you didn't send me here to live in no shelter. That was my initial thought. Like, I know you didn't send me here to live in no shelter. And He was like, yes, I did. And it's not a shelter. It's a transitional housing program. I'm thinking I'm finna be in this particular place, living on cots in a room with 500 women with my child. That's what I thought, right? Whole time, when God put it in my path again, while I was waiting for my interview, an intake interview, I finally did the research and was like, let me look. And when I looked through the website, I found out that they were literally apartments. Like you had your own apartment. You weren't sharing rooms with nobody. You had your own apartment. So they had 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms. If you know, the 2 bedrooms were for people with 2 or more kids. Okay. So I technically would have qualified for the 1 bedroom, and that's what I got. So I went to the appointment, whatever like that. And so this was on a Thursday. They closed on Friday. Went through the weekend. Monday comes. So now I'm leaving my cousin's mother's house, coming back to the Sandy Springs area because my baby is starting school on that Monday, which was like August 4th. So I came, I spent the night, left Monday morning, came back to Sandy Springs area because I was like an hour away when I was staying with this particular cousin's mother. And so took my baby to school. And so once I took him to school, I was kind of like dangling. And I'm like, okay, Lord, I'm waiting on the phone. I was waiting on the phone call from this place that God had sent me to, the transitional housing program. And I'm like, Lord, are they gonna call me today? Because I don't have much money, but I have enough to try to get some type of hotel room over here in Sandy Springs where my son's school. Mind you, I'm a couple of blocks away from Water Walk, which is where, so I'm in the area that God sent me to when I first moved to Georgia. I'm literally in the same vicinity, same grocery store I used to walk to. I'm in that parking lot, sitting there, waiting for instructions from God. And so I went and picked my son up from school. And we were sitting in the parking lot. I'm like, okay, let me get us something to eat. But I'm like, Lord, I need to know what to do. So I'm looking for Airbnbs, trying to find the cheapest thing I possibly could for at least a couple of days. And I ended up finding this trailer. It was like a trailer Airbnb, and it was so nice, y'all. Like it was decked out, like looked like a house on wheels. And I was like, I'm gonna just go here. And it was like in Powder Springs. It was far from where I was, but I was willing to sacrifice and drive back and forth to take my baby to school if that's what I had to do to be able to secure a place for a couple of days. And so I went to go try to book it, and it literally was gone within like minutes of it coming across my path. And so I'm like, okay, Lord, I could have just got this place for 3 nights for under $200. Like, what do you want from me right now? Like, it literally was like $120 for 3 nights. And I'm telling y'all, it was a nice little trailer in somebody's backyard. Like, they was just renting it out, as like an Airbnb. And so I'm like, Lord, what am I going to do? Because, if I get a hotel, I'm only going to be able to get like 1 night. So, boom. I just started looking through booking.com. God led me to look through booking.com. I had a credit on booking.com from rooms that I had booked in the past. And so he go and search for a room over here. And so he kept putting the Marriott in my path, which he did that previously when I left the Water Walk and kind of went between 2 hotels before he sent me to the Villa Swagan woman's house. And so I ended up looking into a Marriott literally across the street from the parking lot that I was sitting in at that time while I was pondering on what to do next, across the street from the grocery store. And so, again, in the same area that I was in when he first moved me to Georgia. And so I booked that room. And mind you, I was waiting on this call all day. I booked the room at about 4, it was like 4 something, like just the top of the hour of 4 p.m. And as soon as I booked that room, I got a call. Not even 2 minutes later. And I answered the call, and the person was like, hi, this is such and such from the blank, 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 which is the transitional housing program. And she was like, we're going to move forward and allow you to, stay here. When do you want to move in? Do you want to move in today? And I'm like, oh, wow. I said, you called me right after I just booked the hotel room. And she was like, oh, no, you're fine. No worries. We could just schedule you to come move in tomorrow. What's best for you? And I was like, when my son get out of school at this time, she's like, well, I'm going to set your appointment up for when he get out of school so you don't have to worry about rushing to go get him, because you will have to sit and have like a little meeting before we, give you your starter pack and, pretty much your code to get into the apartment. And so I was like, okay, cool. So she set the appointment the next day for like 3:30 p.m. or something like that. And we kind of finished up the conversation, and she was like, congratulations, can you send me a picture of you and your son so we could have it on file for a reference of what you guys look like, so that you're not just roaming the campus and we're not unaware of who's on the campus. So if you could just send those photos, that'd be great. I said, cool. So hang up the phone. I'm like, thank you, Jesus. So I ended up sending everything that I needed to send her. And then from there, um, I went to check into my hotel. I got us some food, and I kind of just rested. I was able to relax. Like, okay, thank you, Lord. Okay, and I kind of put it behind me and just relaxed and rested. We went to sleep. I woke up, took my son to school, came back to the hotel after I dropped him off. Kind of took my shower and all of that stuff. Got prepared to check out. I checked out. I did a late checkout about 12 p.m. After I checked out, I kind of went to the park, had some intimacy time with God or whatever like that, and then I went to go pick my son up from school and headed to the transitional housing program place. And then I had my appointment, my meeting. They told me what to expect. I met my caseworker, because you gotta have caseworkers and stuff like that. A case manager that you talk to. And so after that, they was like, okay, let's go look at your apartment. They ended up giving me a welcome basket with like detergent in there and utensils in there and towels. They gave me like 4 washcloths, 4 towels, just pretty much like little necessities and stuff that I would need while I'm staying there. And so I'm like, okay, Lord, I know you about to blow my mind with this apartment number, because God has shown me, has spoken to me through numbers on this journey, right? Tying them to scriptures and things like that. Outside of him speaking audibly to me, right? Can't put God in the box. He can speak however he chooses to. And I'm not talking about all this divination and angel numbers and all of that stuff. Like, no. God created numbers. They identified words by numbers back in the days in the Hebrew strong concordance. I done said this in my video a few times. But yes, so when we walked to my apartment, it was just like this peace was over me. Like, oh my God, finally, Lord, I have a place where I can like rest. Not that I wasn't resting before, because I was leaning on God for everything. From the even now, still, I've never leaned on myself. None this journey. Even when I tried to, go and try to, make ends meet and stuff like that, God always comes through. Always comes through. However he chooses, whether it's through a person, sending it supernaturally, you know what I'm saying? Like, he always comes through. So, um, sorry, my stomach growling. So I get to my apartment, and when we get to my apartment number was B, the letter B, and the number 4. So as we walking up, my son is like, Mommy, B4. So I kind of look at him, and I'm like, yeah, you know what's going on. And so I said, you absolutely right. This is the B4. This is the B4. Because I know you finna blow my mind, Lord. The after is going to be crazy, insane. So, went into the house. And so when I walked into the apartment, it was fully furnished with donated items. It was a computer set up in there, which on this computer, that's where I would have meetings there. We had to do like trainings on how to do like Microsoft PowerPoint, how to learn the Microsoft, I forgot what it was called, but it was like different things that we had to abide by, and trainings that we had to do while we were in the program, because they of course was getting us ready for job readiness and things like that. Even if you came in there with a job, they encouraged you to look for better opportunities, because um their mission statement was to put you in a better position than what you came in there, or how you came in there, right? And so every woman story was different, but mine was very unique, because I did not come there because of, under the circumstances of me following hard times per se, or going through like a domestic violence situation, no drug addiction. That was not my story. This was all by faith that I chose to leave my hometown and come here out of obedience. And I had options before I left Chicago. I had options. You know what I'm saying? Um, and I've said that before in the video too. Like I had um money pending that I could have put towards 3 months towards a new place. Had I found a place that was willing to work with me after going through the eviction that I went through, God putting me in position to humble me and for me to lose everything. But that eviction was sealed. It was not on my record or any of that. And I could have used this 3 months of assistance on top of first month in security deposit being covered through two different places that God had connected me to. Not no Section 8 or nothing like that, but market rent housing. I would have had about 5 months of assistance towards a new place had I stayed in Illinois. So I had options. I did not have to come to Georgia per se, right? And so when I walked into the apartment, I'm kind of like checking it out. I'm like, okay, Lord, it's not bad. The kitchen was pretty much brand new looking. The bathroom was real small, but I was just like, Lord, I'm thankful. It's a place. I ain't got to be up in a room with a bunch of women. I have my own personal space, and I'm able to be comfortable. And so I remember going into the bedroom because it was a one bedroom, but it was like two beds in the bedroom and like two twin size beds. So me and my son had our own bed, and it already had bedding on there. It had throws and things like that on there. And so I ended up going into the bedroom. And so when I went into the bedroom, it was a plaque above the bed. So the beds was like side by side, and then in the middle it was a table. And so in the middle of that table on the wall there was a plaque. It was a cross, and the cross said, "Be still." Now, soon as I seen the cross, I instantly break down crying and just started like praising God in advance because that had been my scripture in that season from the time that God had relocated me to Georgia. And then I was kind of going through the transition from the hotel. Peace be still was the scripture that God was using in that season. And so for me to walk into this transitional housing apartment that they had assigned just for me, numbered B4, and then I walk into the bedroom and it's a cross on the wall that says, "Be still." Y'all, when I tell y'all, I was mind blown, and I just started praising and thanking God and crying and all these things. And I was just overwhelmed with emotions and, just like people, you cannot tell me God is not real, y'all. When I tell y'all, this journey, I would never have it. I wouldn't have it any other way, y'all. Like, God has been blowing my mind even now. So fast forward, I ended up, so this program was a progress-based program, meaning depending on your progress, that determined whether you were going to stay in the program or not, right? So they normally did like a 30-day, it was weekly meetings, but there was a 30-day checklist that you had to finish. Like at the end of 30 days, you have to have accomplished the goal that you wrote down with your case manager. And so when I first got there, I pretty much told them, so you couldn't do like no 1099 work or nothing like that. You had to actually have a W-2 job. You had to make a certain amount of money to be able to qualify for their program to stay there, because to them it had to make sense. And so I went in there talking about my faith. I'm gonna turn the car on, y'all. Hopefully it don't mess up like the sound with it transferring to the car. But I went in there, because it's getting hot. I went in there confessing my faith, and that I was there on a faith journey. Like, God sent me there. I kept expressing to them that my story is not everybody else's story. I'm here because God sent me here. And so they mocked me the whole time I was in their program. I'm not even gonna lie to you. And so they were really like trying to pressure me into doing things their way, when even though I know God had sent me there, I was still moving strategically how God was telling me to move. I wasn't moving out of fear. Anytime they would come to me and be like, oh, you still haven't found a job, well, you may not be extended, because again, the extension was based on your progress. And I was there, and I'm not gonna go too deep into detail into everything, because I was there for a little over 6 months, right? But they kept extending me, and so they normally would give you about 90 days. They'll give you grace for 90 days, but after that 90 days, that's when they start saying, okay, look, if you have not made no progress for real, you got to go to a different program, or we have to release you, because you have to make progress to be able to stay here, because we have other people that needs help, right? So boom, I moved into this place August 6th, or August 6th I moved in. Okay, that was my move-in date. um what was it, the 5th? It's August 6th, because my baby started school August 5th, not August 4th. So August 6th was my move-in date. Okay. um I was trying to find jobs while I was living there. um when I moved into this place, I was pretty much staying to myself, but God kept allowing me to have supernatural encounters with the women that was on the premises. I was sharing my journey with them. I was encouraging them and uplifting them. So God was using me as a voice of encouragement, and trying to push people towards Him, right? Based off of my testimony and the things that God had done for me since I had been here in Georgia. And so I had met this woman. She was pregnant, okay? And so one day, because we had a laundry room on the premises, I had went into the laundry room to wash. And when I went in, this pregnant woman was sitting in there with her daughter. And so I remember her starting a conversation with me. And so long story short, we started talking about God. She started telling me about her testimony, about how she ended up in the program. And from everything that I had, how I got there and why I was there, and just pretty much telling her about my faith or whatever. And so, long story short, she started crying, and she's like telling me like her story from when she was a kid, and how she, all this, all the warfare and the generational curses and all the things that happened to her growing up, that pretty much got her to the place that she was at now. And so she ended up asking to exchange information with me, and so I did. And we just kind of started talking from there. And so, like, I'm a cooker, and I love sharing food, and giving people food and seeing their reactions, because my food be good. And so I started cooking for her, right? And whenever I would cook, I would offer her food. And so I didn't have enough to feed her and her kids at that time. She had 2 kids staying with her, and then she was pregnant with one. But anytime I would cook, I would offer her some. And so she like, oh, girl, your food is so good. So long story short, the question came up. I'm like, so when you go into labor? Because she was doing any day. When you go into labor, like, what's your plan? Whatever. She's like, I don't have nobody, to take me to the hospital or nothing like that. Like, I don't have no family that I'm connected to or talking to in the moment. I'm not talking to my child's father, but my plan the plan was for another mother that was on the premises to take her to the hospital. But I was just like, well, I'll take you to the hospital, what I'm saying, if you need help with your daughter, because she had a younger daughter at that time that was 5. I'm like, if you need help with her, I could keep her for you. Now, we were not supposed to keep anybody else's kids on the premises for safety reasons and for different laws with like DCFS and stuff. But I broke the rules, and I snuck her daughter into my place. We weren't supposed to be in each other's places or any of that, because this is a program and it's free housing. They didn't want it to be like no kick it thing. You know what I'm saying? So, and I ended up being under I think what I call it, a warden, the person who stayed, the employee that watched over the community while after business hours. So I guess that's a warden. I don't know. I might be making it up, but she stayed above me. So the person who pretty much worked for this program and watched over the premises after hours, the person that we would contact. Okay. So I ended up sneaking the daughter in around the time when she went into labor. Um, and I took her to the hospital. So I took her to the hospital. My son and her youngest daughter, we drove to the hospital. And so I remember praying over her in the parking lot, right? And she didn't think she was ready to go into labor, but I was just like, look, girl, just like ain't no point of trying to stay and wait. You're gonna be have the baby at the program. So let's just go to the hospital. The hospital was about 6-7 minutes away from the program. And so when we got there, they allowed us to go upstairs with her. So, normally ain't no kids allowed in labor and delivery, right? So they allowed us to go upstairs with her. And they started setting her up, putting her on the monitors and all that stuff. And when we got there, I think she was about maybe 6-7 centimeters or something like that. She was close, but she was not ready to, go into labor per se. And so they, hooked her up on all the monitors and all that stuff. And so, long story short, we're sitting there. So it's like 2 hours later, we didn't get comfortable. Like, I didn't pull the couches together, made the kids a bed, and I didn't covered them up and blocked, so they won't see anything or nothing like that. And so that's when one of the nurses came in the room and was like, hey, I'm so sorry if you misunderstood, but we mean that you can come upstairs, come up with her, but you can't stay. Unfortunately, you can't stay with the kids. Like, you would have to sit with them in the lobby, and you can't leave them unattended, you know what I'm saying, because they're minors. And I was like, oh man. I said, okay, cool, no problem, we just gonna leave. So I was there, like, massaging her, like, helping her, trying to keep her calm and stuff like that. And so when the lady told me that they couldn't stay up there, this was like around 11 p.m. ish. We got to the hospital right before 10. And so I remember right before I left, I told her, I said, you're going to have that baby by 12:30 a.m. And so I ended up leaving. I went to go get my baby situated. I went to go get her daughter situated. And I had a setup with like a FaceTime with my other phone. And I had them on FaceTime. So it was like a camera in a sense, to where I was able to see them and hear them or whatever. And I made sure they was both asleep before I left. And so I stayed on the phone with this particular mother, while she was in labor. And she was just like, I think the baby's about to come. And I was like, hold off. Tell him to hold off, because I don't want to miss it, or whatever like that. And so the nurse was in the background like, we're trying, but it looks like, she's about to come. And so I ended up putting him in the bed, setting up the phone, and then I left out. And when I got there, it was about 12:15ish, I want to say. And she finally ended up, getting close to about to push. She kept trying to push, but the baby wasn't coming out initially. And so the baby finally came out. I cut the umbilical cord. And then I was like taking pictures of the baby on the table and stuff like that for well, she's now my friend, but I was taking pictures for my friend. And when I looked at my pictures, because of course we in the midst, we in the moment, we don't, pay attention to time. I looked at my phone and it was 12:30. So she pushed the baby out at 12:30, like I spoke it at 11 p.m. ish. And I was like, wow. I said, Lord, baby. So anyways, I helped this woman, this stranger, deliver her baby. I had only known her for about a week, maybe a week and a half at the most. God used me to be a blessing to help her deliver this baby. Not only did I help her deliver the baby, I helped her name the baby. I gave the baby its middle name, which is Ruth. Okay? She then found out that her case manager at the program, her middle name was Ruth. Because when she called her and was like, hey, just checking on you, Mom. I heard you went into labor. And she was like, yeah, I am. She's like, what's the baby's name? And she said her first name and her middle name. And the case manager was like, that's my middle name. And she was like, what? And I just was like, Lord, you are so intentional. The fact that you even told me to help her name the baby, and that's the name that you gave me, what are the odds? And so at this particular time, this mother was coming up to her transition of leaving. She didn't know where she was going to go. And I kept telling her, so it's two parts to the program. You got the part where you could stay for 6 months for free, possibly longer, depending on your circumstance. And then there's another side where you could stay for 2 years and you would pay rent for those 2 years, and it would be $1,100. and then you would still have to like save, because like it was mandatory to save and things like that. So even with you going to the other side to pay, you would still have to save and meet with case managers and make progress while you going to the other side. So she was in the midst of being put out of the program. And so I told her, like, listen, have faith. I truly believe that God is going to allow you to go to the other side where you're going to pay. And you're going to be able to sit there for 2 years and continue to save here. I don't think that God is calling you to leave this place yet because you're not ready, right? You just had a baby. They have childcare on the premises. So another thing with this program that God sent me to, they have free childcare. So they would pick our kids up off the bus at about between 2 and 3 p.m. and they would keep them until 6:30 for free. They had a pantry on the premises where they gave us money each month. For example, they'll give you like 300 points and you would use those points to buy food with. Even if you had public assistance or, food stamps or whatever, they still had that option for you to get food from the pantry on the premises. On top of that, they had a full laundry room and we were able to wash for free, and they provided laundry detergent and fabric softener sheets. They also provided tissue if you needed it, right? And so every need that we needed was met through this program. Of course, the food only lasts so much. We went to the pantry weekly, but you still would have to, buy your own food because that's just the reality of it. Food is expensive. But it was so much help in this program, and so I was very grateful for that. There was times where it was very uncomfortable and I was ready to leave. But I had to keep asking God to, give me patience and peace because I did not like my case manager. Like, again, she mocked me a lot and would say, oh, well, she was always like a logical person. I'm telling her, I get that. I get that, this is the ways of the world, but I'm telling you that God is going to work out my situation. I'm here because God sent me here and you're not about to stress me out. So long story short, helped this woman deliver this baby. She gave birth September 5th, okay? Which is in between the death date and birth date of my mother. My mother passed away September 3rd. Her birthday is September 7th, okay? The baby, my goddaughter, because this is my goddaughter now, she was born September 5th. So, boom. After she gave birth and was released, I helped her get home. And so from the moment she had this baby, I was her helper. So when she would go take her son to school in the morning, I would literally drive with her with the baby in my lap, because the baby was like going through this attachment stage at a very she was only days old. I would wrap her up in a blanket and I would hold her in the front seat and feed her because she was being breastfed. So I would give her bottles and stuff like that. Or no, she was too young at this time. So I would just kind of keep her calm with a pacifier and stuff like that. And so this went on for like at least up until she was almost 2 months. And so there was times where I was keeping her. She would spend a night with me, like things like that. And again, I didn't know this lady from a can of paint, and I was keeping her baby when she was days old, weeks old, right? So God was using me to be a helper for her, right? And so I grew attached to this baby, right? And so long story short, I'm going through the program. This particular friend ended up getting extended, and she got pushed over to the permanent side to live for 2 years, okay? Where she would go over there and pay rent. I went past my 90 days. I still did not have a job. They were predicting for me to leave the program because I had been there for 3 months and I still had not found a job after applying over and over again to different positions, doing phone interviews, doing assessment tests, and nothing was coming back. And I'm like, Lord, listen, I know that you sent me here for a place of rest, and you're allowing me to take advantage to stay in this place for free, fully furnished. But I'm trying to find a job and it's not working out. So am I applying towards the wrong places, or what am I doing wrong? And so it wasn't that I was doing anything wrong. And so it just wasn't his time, right? And so I remember I got hit with some warfare around October of 2024, right? And there was this particular woman that was attached to the pregnant woman that I ended up befriending and helping deliver her baby. She was not right, and God warned me, but I still communed with her or conversated with her because she was connected to the pregnant woman that God connected me to. And so I started getting distracted with their issues. Although I was there to be of encouragement, I started getting distracted with their issues. And so I'm like, listen, y'all is starting to agitate me, and I need a break from y'all because y'all got real issues going on, and I'm here by faith, and I'm not trying to get sucked into the wrong things or like the wrong, because one thing I don't do is allow peer pressure to get to me, but I don't want y'all problems to become my problems, right? And y'all gunk attaching to me. Like I'm not trying to do that. Like I know better, like being in this walk. And so long story short, this particular woman that was attached to the pregnant woman that God is connecting me with, she had a situation going on where she felt like she was going to have a panic attack. And so I volunteered to pray for her, and I heard God tell me not to. And I did it anyway, right? Because I thought it was me initially, but it was definitely God. And so I ended up touching on her, and I was like touching and praying and, casting things out and things like that. And so about 2 days later, I woke up and I had this pain in my arm, my right, predominantly this one. And so I woke up with this pain, and it progressed very quickly. And it got so bad to the point where I couldn't even bear it. And it felt like my arm was about to detach from the socket, right? And it was so freaking uncomfortable. And I went to the ER. I thought my insurance, my public assistance insurance, because I had a link card back at home, was going to work here, and it didn't. I did not know it was state to state basis. And so when I went to the ER, I'm telling them what's going on. I can't even talk because I'm excruciating pain. They did an X-ray, could not do an MRI because it was a specialist by request with the specialist. They weren't able to do it through the emergency room unless it was like a dire need situation, which this was a dire need situation. My pain on the scale from 1 to 10 was at like 1,000. It was unbearable. And so they ended up giving me narcotics, y'all. One of the highest drugs in the market, illegal to even have, right? And they put it through a IV, and when I tell y'all, it did not work. I started hyperventilating, panicking. I had a panic attack when it was putting it through the IV, because when it was going through my veins, I could feel like the burning and stuff like that. And so when I tell y'all, they ended up giving me the narcotics, and it didn't even help. They tried to put it through my bloodstream so like it could work quicker, and it didn't even help. So they gave me a prescription. I did not have the money for the prescription at the time. God ended up putting this program in my path that helped me pay for the prescription, on top of helped me get some type of insurance here. It was like this program for people who couldn't afford insurance or whatever. And so God had connected me to this place so that I can get insurance and further get checked out with this situation, because y'all, I dealt with this pain of my arm literally feeling like it was about to fall off for 3 weeks. I had a cast on. I couldn't barely move my arm. If I moved it a pinch, it literally felt like I was about to die. Like the pain was so unbearable. And so I went back and forth to the ER at least 2 to 3 times. They kept giving me different medication. The last time I went, they gave me like a muscle spasm type of medication and more pain meds. Mind you, these pain medication, Lord, I'm sorry. These pain meds were not working for anything. They were not working. And so that's when God told me, you're under attack. This is a spiritual attack. Because mind you, I'm coming up on my 90-day review, about to get put out. Okay, still ain't had no job at this point. And I prayed over this woman who ended up turning out to be a foe. She was literally before she got put out the program, but before she left, she tried to sow discord between me and the pregnant woman that I had became friends when they helped deliver the baby. Like literally messy, bro. But her true colors came out right before she exited the program. And me and the pregnant woman, the friend that God connected me to, ended up kind of being at odds. And so God kept putting it on my heart to reach out to her and talk to her, like, because God had, that's a whole nother thing, but God pretty much revealed who that woman was. And when she left, it came out through confirmation of her pretty much trying to create a lie to turn the friend that God had connected me to away from me. And it was like all a lie. Like, so anyways, so she was jealous of our friendship because she had knew her before I came to the program. And so anyways, long story short, my arm was in the cast. And so when God had made it known to me that this is a spiritual attack, I did ended up going on a fast. And so I was in, and I was just like warring in the spirit, praying. I was reading my Bible every day at this particular time. And then I was just pretty much seeking God on direction on what to do. And so then once I had did like this fast and I started warring and praying against it, not that I wasn't doing it before, but I just stopped even trying to find medical ways to fix it because, like I said, wasn't nothing helping. I ended up, I stopped taking the pain medication because I'm not even a medication girl. I don't take medicine. For if I can avoid it, I won't take it. And so I ended up warring and praying and all of that stuff. And so I woke up one day and it was gone. Like, I remember one Saturday I woke up after posting a video about how God confirmed that he wanted me to move to Georgia. This is when I first started this series. Mind you, I'm having interviews, like Zoom interviews with this cast on my arm at this particular time. And like I said, nothing was falling through. And so one Saturday I woke up and there was an issue with my phone bill. And so AT&T had sent a message threatening to disconnect my services if I didn't make a payment. And I had made a payment. Like, the payment was made. I'm like, what? Like, no, y'all got to figure this out because I made my payment. And so I tried to call the building department and I couldn't get through because it was closed. And so I had to go to the store. And so I searched AT&T stores near me. And the store that came up, I had never seen it before, but I just, out of obedience, I went. And so I had been to AT&T store since living in this particular area, but that's not the one that popped up. The one that popped up was the one that I ended up driving to. And so I drove to this place, and when I got there, I'm like, oh, yeah, I've never seen this AT&T. I didn't know it was AT&T store over here. And so walked in, and so I met the manager, but when I walked in, it was just like I felt so welcome there, like I was supposed to belong there. And so when I walked in, like, they was real cool. It's like, hey, how you doing? Da, 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 da. And so, like, they was like real friendly and all that stuff. And then we was just like kicking it. And so I told her what was going on. She told me that she was going to be able to put like a notation in the account. But what she was trying to do was waive a particular fee that AT&T had put on my account in error. And she was like, so somebody called, so I have to pick up where I left off. She wasn't able to waive the fees on the account because the billing department was closed on the weekends, and I didn't know AT&T had started doing that. So the billing department is closed on the weekends now. So she was like, this was a Saturday, so she was like, just come in Monday and we can do everything, and I'll make sure that I get, everything on your account taken care of. And I'm like, okay, cool, boom. So I ended up leaving, and so I came in on Monday, and when I came in on Monday, again, we talking, we kicking it, like I know her, like we literally was mashing, like we was mashing like naturally, organically. And so when I walked in on this Monday morning, I overheard her talking to another sales associate, the manager. She was just like, if this lady don't walk in here within the next 5 minutes, I'm not interviewing her. So she had an interview coming in. And so when I heard her say that, I also heard the Lord say, ask her for a job. And I'm like, am I mad? I probably made the face and everything because I'm like, what? And in my head, I'm like, I don't want to work at AT&T. And so I ignored it, and I'm just listening to her like, And so, again, she's talking about this interview or whatever. So the lady ended up getting there, and she interviewed her anyway. Because when she was saying like, "Yeah, how you gonna be late for an interview?" Da da da. And so I was like, "Listen, you never know what a person got going on. She probably had an emergency or something, just couldn't get here on time." But I was like, "Give her grace or whatever." She was like, "Yeah, you right, but she was like, I didn't interview so many people, and I just can't find the right person, and blah blah blah." But yeah, hopefully, she's a good fit, and I could, hire her for this store. And so I heard God again say, "Ask her for a job," and I was like, "No, I don't want to work here." So boom, she ended up doing what she needed to do to my account, and then I left. So when I left, like I said, we had mandatory meetings and stuff like this in this particular program. And so I had to be with my career services case manager. And I normally met with this person on Tuesdays. So Tuesday gets here. Or was this the same day? I think it was the same day. So Monday. Was it Monday? Anyways, I left AT&T. I had not an interview, a Zoom meeting, like my mandatory weekly meeting with the career. Soon as I got on the Zoom call, she's like, "Hello, Tiara. How you doing today? So have you gotten any more interviews, any emails, da da da?" Excuse me. And I said, "Yes, I have gotten emails for rejections for, different jobs that I have applied for. No, I have not gotten an interview, since the last one, which was like a week ago or so." And so she was just like, "Have you ever thought about working for AT&T?" So I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Have you ever thought about working for AT&T?" And I was like, "No, I have not thought about working for AT&T." But literally in the back of my mind, I'm hearing God like what I tell you. So she said, "Well, we have a mom who just got hired with them working from home. I can send you their information and you can look into it." Da, 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 da. And I'm like, "Thank you. Just go ahead and send the information over for me." And so, anyways, I had to finish this training online so that I can get this completion certification, because that was part of the program. I had to complete this training. Like I said, it was pretty much like Microsoft, and it's called North Star, a program called North Star. So people that's familiar with training for softwares and stuff like that, pretty much modules and stuff like that, and you take tests to make sure that you understand it. But anyways, our program, and she was like, "Well, go ahead and finish that up. You have one more to do. With flying colors, pretty much almost 100%, and like you have a lot to blind." So I was like, "Okay, cool." And so once after training, I was going to be giving a laptop for free. That was pretty much one of the rewards that you receive once you're finished. And so I finished that up, and as soon as I finished that up, God was like, "Now go back to AT&T." So as soon as I finished that, when I got off the Zoom, I went straight to AT&T. And when I got there, I seen the manager and I said, "Are you still hiring?" And she was like, "I am. You need a job?" And I was like, "Yes." But I was like kind of like embarrassed, because I was like I said, I really didn't want to work there. And so she ended up scheduling me for an interview the next day. And so I ended up leaving, and I didn't really have interview clothes per se. I asked this program that I was in if they could help me with clothes, which they do that. They'll give you like a gift card to their closet. It's called I'm not gonna say the name, but it's a closet thrift store type of place, but it's specifically for the program that I was in. And they gave me a gift card to go there and get some interview stuff, which it was like pretty much brand new or great condition stuff, like a thrift store or whatever, a secondhand store. And so I never went there. I ended up just piecing together stuff that I had already had. And so, long story short, went in, did the interview, and she ended up hiring me on the spot. So in the interview, I told her about my story, how I, got there, and come to find out, God used me to pretty much speak life into her and uplift her, and we ended up crying during my interview, because she was like telling me her story, and she was in like a same-sex marriage and all that stuff. So I encouraged her with that, and pretty much was telling her that was not from God, and all this other stuff that was a distraction from the enemy. So don't even count that as no marriage, because that's a lie. Like, you know what I'm saying? God kept you in your right mind, and He got plans for you, and the enemy tried to send that confusion to block you from the destiny that God has for you. So, anyways, I knew from now why God sent me to AT&T, and it was to uplift and encourage my manager, right? And to help push her towards God and whoever else was working there. But nonetheless, I was there to shine light on customers and employees, okay? So, long story short, ended up getting hired on the spot. And so, all the time that I was looking for jobs here in Georgia, $12 an hour, $13, $14 an hour. I'm like, Lord, no. Like, I'm not working for no $12 an hour. I ain't worked for $12 since I was probably 19 in Chicago. I left making $28, $29 an hour at FedEx. Why would I come down here and work for $12? I'm like, okay, Lord, listen. This ain't gonna work. This ain't gonna work. Like, even the rent down here is starting to catch up with Illinois. So, like, how is they still paying people this amount of money? So, before I went to the interview for AT&T, I'm on Google researching how much do sales reps get paid at AT&T outside of commission, right? And it was just like varying. Like, some articles said $10 depending on the state. I said $10 an hour. So, long story short, went through the interview, and so after we finished the interview, she was like, so you'll get started off at $12. So I'm sitting there, I said, $12? She said, yeah, that's the start pay if you don't have no experience as a sales representative. I said, what if I had experience? She said, you probably get started off at $14. So when I tell y'all, when I was looking for jobs and I was steady seeing these $12, I'm talking about these was freaking collection agencies, call centers, like all type of jobs. And I kept saying, I'm not working for no $12. God literally humbled me and said, yes, you are. Your pay is going to be $12. So when she told me how much my pay was going to be, I'm in my mind, I said, I'm about to go. I was going to say, thank you for the opportunity, but no, thank you. And God said, so when she said $12, I heard God say, so what you going to do? So I sat there for a minute and I said, okay, that's fine. I said, is there any way like I can, like, they'll raise the pay? She said, probably not, but you're not having experience. I'm like, okay, that's fine. And so I left and I was driving home like, Lord, I know you lying. I know you lying, but you got a way. You will humble the proud. And I ain't saying I was proud, but I was like, $12? Like, when I was looking for jobs, like when I tell y'all the pay sucks down here, sucks. And I got a whole CDL. I have not switched over my CDL to here or nothing like that yet, because I don't feel like that was what God was calling me to do. I had been driving for over 12, 13 years with my CDL back in Illinois. And I just knew, like, nah, driving here ain't gonna work, because they do not know how to drive. And I just didn't want my road rage to resurface, because I already have to deal with it in my personal car. Definitely not trying to deal with it in no company vehicle. So, anyways, so I went home, and 2 days later I was starting, which was going to be the start of a new pay period. And so she was trying to start me to where I could still get like a check that month, because we was paid twice a month, so on certain days. And so 2 particular days. And so I came in on a Friday. I had a great first day. Learned very quickly, all these things. And so from the moment I walked into AT&T and started working for them, I played gospel music 90% of the time before working there. Sometimes I put on a little R&B or whatever, but I played gospel music, gospel rap every day, and I worked Monday through Friday. And so let me tell you about the grace that God gave me at this place. I asked her in the interview, I said, I have my child. I don't have family here that I can depend on. All my immediate family that pretty much I was raised with and I'm close with lives in Chicago still. I don't have childcare for my son, and I'm not in a position to pay for childcare at this moment, and I'm not trying to, just to be frank. And I said, is there any way that my son will be able to come to work with me times when he can't go to school, meaning if it's like a winter break, a fall break, or whatever, holidays, and I have to work. And I said, also, is there any way that you can accommodate me to only work Monday through Friday? Y'all, when I tell y'all, she said, oh yeah, absolutely, I can work with your schedule. So when I was working at AT&T, because I was there for a little over 3 months, okay? My manager literally set my schedule Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. I was able to, or 6 p.m. some days. I was able to get off and get to my son before 6:30, because remember I told y'all we had free childcare on the premises at this program, and they kept our kids to 6:30. I literally worked 7 minutes away from where I was staying at that time. And so she accommodated my schedule. Anytime my son was out of school, he came to work with me. Okay. Then shortly after starting, I was able to work overtime. And it was like, I couldn't even tell that I was working overtime because it was so fun. Like, it was so fun and like natural for me to work there, right? My personality, I was drawing people in. Once I was able to even gain commission, which was like a couple of weeks later after me working there, y'all, the sales was falling in my lap. So although I was worried about the hourly pay, God took that $12 an hour and multiplied it. When I tell y'all, I should have been making, based off the hours that I was set at, which was about 30, 35 hours, I should have been bringing every 2 weeks, maybe $700 and something after taxes, maybe $800 and something after taxes home. Okay? God ended up doubling that. My checks was literally without my commission every 2 weeks with the overtime, because I was getting paid time and a half. So I went from coming in at 10 to then getting the key to the store. She literally made me my own key. We went next door because it was a Home Depot next door. We went next door and made some kitty keys. I had a Transformer key, the cartoon. I ended up getting one of those keys made, and she had got like a Mickey Mouse key or whatever like that. Like, me and her was like real close. We still even connected right now to this day. And so we cried at work some days together. Anytime she came in heavy, I would pray for her. Anytime I would have bad days, I never really had bad days at work. Like, I literally came with a positive attitude no matter what, and I was uplifting everybody else. If anything, it was another female working there that God was using me to work through and encourage. And so, long story short, I know I keep saying that the story ain't getting no shorter, y'all. It's dragging. And so, but y'all know who've been over here already. Y'all know how I work. Y'all know how I be. So, anyways, I went from coming in at 10, leaving at 5, 6 o'clock, to opening the store. And because it was one of the women that was working there, she was not reliable. Also, I was tested many times. There was this one girl that was working there. Her spirit was so nasty and bad. It was, like, she literally used to agitate my spirit, like conjure up anger in me that I wanted to release, because like it was just her, her attitude was So I ended up having an altercation to where I almost fought this particular person, because I would come to work in peace and I would ignore her every day. And it's one day I just was not in the mood, and I ended up snapping off on her because she was indirectly speaking about me and my manager on the phone with her mother, and I confronted her while she was on the phone, like, who are you talking about? And so, long story short, she got out of her body, and I ended up very peacefully treating her, like snapping off on her. And I stepped to her, and I was literally ready to fight her. She threatened to stab me, was digging in her purse for a knife and all this other stuff. So long story short, police got called, and I was so mad. I had just got my nails done because one of the sales representatives at my store, she did nails on the side. And she had just did my nails, and I had stiletto nails on this finger and this finger, I want to say. And I was so mad when I was arguing with the girl, trying to restrain myself from fighting her, and I was like hitting my hand or whatever I had did in that moment, when I kind of like went from trying to be kind to like being tempted to snap. I stabbed myself in the palm of my hand. So I had a hole here initially in my hand. It's healed over time, but I had put a hole in the middle of my hand. And so the police had got called by her mother that was on the phone, because her mama sent
help, honey, because she already knew, because she could hear it in the background like that it wasn't finna end well. And so the police had ended up coming in. I almost got locked up because I was like snapping off, but I was just like, listen, I come to work every day peacefully. You know, this bride coming here to this. So long story short, the police officer calmed me down. They threatened to lock her up because of her throwing threats of stabbing me. Um, the police officer then calmed me down and was just like, listen, you know, you just said that you relocated here. Like, don't allow somebody to, you know, you don't have family here. Don't allow nobody to put you in this position to where you're gonna be away from your child. And you don't have no help here. You don't have nowhere for your child to go. And all this other stuff. And so, anyways, that girl ended up getting fired. God removed her. Although the situation went the way that it did, with me pretty much almost going to jail, because in the past my temper has placed me in places that, in positions that I should have not been in. But the phone gonna start shaking, y'all, because I'm moving, and the way that I have it is like not in the, I don't know why I put it up in this, on this particular spot, but it be shaking. So I'm gonna be moving for a couple of seconds, so forgive me. But so anyways, she had got fired and let go, and my manager had been trying to get rid of her for a while, but they was not firing her. She was not reliable. She was always calling off. She had situations where customers had complained. And so anyways, that situation is what pretty much pushed her out of the door. And so I ended up having to talk to the owner, and he got my side of the story and all those other things. And he was just like, you know, I watch you and I see that you're a very positive person and all these other things. And so I'm sorry that had to happen to you, but you know, thank you for trying your best to restrain yourself and da 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 da. And so from there, you know, I was still going to work. And so there was situations through other co-workers where I was tested again. So I was tested a lot at this job. There was a lot of negativity there. It was a messy environment, low key. And so even though that was the case, I still stayed. So I stayed, and I served. In a sense, I served well until you know, God said that it was time for me to close that door. There was times where I was tested again, and so I'm just like, you know what? I know I have to stay here, you know, until God says that it's time for me to go, or whatever the case may be. And so there was times where I was tested again. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna just stay here until you say it's time to go. So long story short, when I had the issue with my phone bill, and I went up to AT&T to talk to um, the manager to see if she can waive the fee or whatever. Um, that Saturday when I had woke up, I had received a cash app from somebody. And so when I seen the cash app, the person labeled the cash app as "Thank you for obeying Yah." So when when I seen that, I was just like, wow, somebody just sent me some money or whatever. And so this was after I had posted a video about how God had confirmed that He wanted me to move to Georgia. This is when I had started the series. And so, long story short, when I went to AT&T, that money had came in handy for something that I needed. So I ended up getting hired at AT&T, and I started working. My first day was November 8th. And so 3 Saturdays after this, so one Saturday, 3 Saturdays following that, I had received a cash app 3 more times from the same individual. And so when the cash app came through, I'm like, okay, all right. This person, so I'm like, Lord, is this the same person that sent me money this day? And so I went and I looked, and sure enough, it was. And so I asked God, like, what is this? And He told me that this woman was paying her tithes to me. So I started working at AT&T on the 8th. 3 Saturdays after that, every Saturday she had sent more money, and each time it was a different amount. So, when she sent the money, the last time that she had sent money before she stopped, the last time she had sent money before she stopped, um, uh, the last time she had sent money was at the end of, um, it was at the end of November, and it was pretty much when I had got my first check. Okay, so I got my first check November 30th, and I want to say the 29th or whatever the last Saturday was in the month of November. That was the last time that she had sent me money. And so I had did research on this person. I had went to go look up her Cash App name, and I found her social media, and she was from New Jersey. She was a hairstylist in New Jersey. And so I was just like, wow, Lord, you are sending a woman from New Jersey to sow seeds into me. And I was just like, Lord, thank you. You know what I'm saying? And so every seed that she sent, I looked that number up, and it had significance to it, like scriptures that was tattooed and things like that. God was speaking me through her tithes, right? And so she sent me money up until I got my first check. And so God revealed to me that He was allowing that woman to sow seeds into me to carry me through my first month of work until I receive a check. And her sending me that money put me in a position to be able to get back and forth to work with gas, to be able to pay certain bills, like some minor bills, because I wasn't paying rent or none, obviously, or utilities, but I still had like my storage and stuff like that. Also, God used her to, I also used that money to, I think I said gas already, but that money came in handy because God knew that I needed it. And so I didn't have to do no Instacart in between or none of that to make money while I was waiting to get my first check, because this woman was literally tithing into me every Saturday for 4 Saturdays straight. So, God is intentional, y'all. And so He sent that woman to carry me through November until I got my first check. And again, she started sewing to me November 4th was the first time she sent money. When I was going to AT&T for my phone bill, not even knowing that I was finna be working there. So, y'all, when I tell y'all, allowing God to guide your every step and hearkening to His voice is the best decision that you can make in life. I'm telling y'all, I'm not saying that it ain't gonna be rocky. I ain't gonna say that it's not gonna be stressful, but I'm telling you, you will not end up in the wrong place. You're going to be right where God needs you to be if you just allow Him to hold your hand and just lead and guide you through the doors that you need to go through. And so, anyways, let me sum this up. So, I got my job in November. Um, I got my job in November, and so again, they had already told me that I had an exit date already because I did not get a job. I did not check off certain boxes because they grant you at least 90 days to get your life together, to try to find a job and start saving or whatever. Up to the amount that I should have had saved at that moment. So, I had another meeting for evaluation, and so I told them that I had a job. And so they was like, okay, well, how much are you getting paid? So I told them, but I then told them it was commission too, and they told me that that was not enough. Hourly, I had to make at least $16 an hour at the least, and that was still pushing it. In order to get extended past 90 days. And so I ended up talking to the director, and I kind of like broke down and was telling her, like, listen, just give me the chance. I know I've been staying here for 3 months and ain't no job came through, but I know this is strategically God's plan. It was supposed to happen that way, because it's not like I wasn't trying to find nothing. So I was just like, give me the opportunity to be able to save with this job that I have now, because the money that I should have in savings, I guarantee you that I will have it sooner than you're expecting, right? And so she pretty much reevaluated it, and so instead of me having to exit, which would have been at 120 days, she automatically pushed me out to staying for 180. So she gave me an additional um, 2 months to stay there. So this meeting was, I was supposed to initially leave in December. She pushed me out until like the end of, she pushed me out to like February sometime, like the beginning of February or mid-February. And so that took a load off my shoulder. I'm like, okay, good, Lord, we in. So boom, as I was working, of course, I was being a great steward. I still wasn't like, I started buying toiletries and stuff that I needed, things that I used to buy. I treated myself a little bit, you know what I'm saying? But I was still being a great steward over my savings. I was making sure that I was saving, putting majority of my check in savings because I was trying to make up for lost time. And so by the time my 180 days came, I had exceeded what I would have had I had been saving from day one. So, like for example, for what I, my goal based off what I was making or what I told them I was making through Instacart when I first came into the program was for me to save like $452 a month, right? So by the time my 180 days came, I had close to $4,000 saved. And I saved that money literally from December up until early February. So I saved like very quickly. When I started working at AT&T, I had about $500 saved already. And so, yeah, so that I had like a little head start, but it wasn't a head start for real because I, again, was supposed to have had way more than 500 saved by the time they extended me to that 180. So I should have had technically like 12, 1,800 saved at that point. And so now I did not want to go to the permanent side that you can go to for 2 years. I wanted to get out of there and get my own place and a house actually. I wanted to rent a house. And so when it came to the like close to the end of my extension for the 180 days, I was just like, okay, Lord, listen, it's coming to the nick. It's coming down to the into the thick of it, into the thick of it. It was coming to the thick of it, and I was like, okay, Lord, listen. I don't want to go over to this permanent side, but if that is your will, I will submit. I will submit if that is your will. And so I kind of started pretty much getting to a point where I was like, okay, Lord, your will, not mine, and I would obey and do that. If that's where you want me to go, I will go there. At least I know that I will only be paying 1,100, and my utilities won't be that much, and I can still save because they still make you save when you go to the other side, which is great. Um, and so as time started winding down, the case manager that I had, she kept saying I didn't qualify. She kept trying to push me in other programs, and she kept pretty much belittling the progress that I had made, saying that, oh, you just started doing this at the end, and we just don't think that you will be able to sustain if we sent you over there. And so I qualified. I made more than 3 times the rent. I had proof of that once I started making commission. Like I said, without commission, I was making every 2 weeks off $12 an hour, y'all. Every 2 weeks, I was making about 1,400 after taxes. Before taxes, I was making probably about 1,600 with 12 off $12 an hour, y'all. So do not tell me what God can't do. When my commission tied in, I was making close to $5,000 a month off $12 an hour in commission. Every month that I was at AT&T, I exceeded my expectation for commission monthly. Sales was falling in my lap. I had no sales experience. My first month that I was able to make commission, which was in December, at the beginning of the month, I was number one in the company out of 40 47, 45 employees for this particular, because it was like an independent contracting company through AT&T. And so, authorized retail dealer. And so I was number one in the company my first month of being able to make commission. And every month that I was there, I was at least in the top five. I had no experience, y'all. And God literally showed up and showed out and allowed his favor to shine bright like a diamond, okay? So this lady, this case manager telling me that I'm not gonna make it over there onto the permanent side in this program. And I said, y'all show favoritism. So I ended up, so long story short, I ended up snapping because I knew that they were lying. And so she was like twisting the rules and saying that I needed to do this and this and that to go over there. And mind you, I had the job, I had the income, I had the proof that I was making income. She tried to say, oh, but that's not reliable because it's commission. I said, but I've been there for almost 3 months and I've made commission, my commission. I've met the goal, exceeded the goal each month. So I'm not understanding. Like, you know what I'm saying? Money is money. Commission is a part of my job. I have to make my commission or I won't have a job. And so that's when I started opening my eyes to say, okay, Lord, well, it ain't your will for me to go over there. But in the brink of time, I'm like, I started kind of getting like answer, okay, Lord, I don't know where I'm finna move yet. So maybe you do want me to go over there. And I will go over there. Because I had no idea as to where God was about to send me, like where the next place was gonna be. And that's how it's been this whole journey. Like, he don't let me see it before it happens per se, or I don't really be knowing for real if that's what he wants until the time kind of comes and then it happens, right? And so um I ended up getting into it with my case manager, and so the director was just like, you have to leave. They extended me one more time, right? Because initially my exit date was in February sometime. She ended up extending me until March 8th, and she said, we're going to extend you to March 8th. And that is it. We will not be extending you past this point. The case manager had twisted every word that I said as if she was not antagonizing me during my interview. It was crazy. We're not even going to get into that, but I just know that the enemy was working through some of them in their program. Although God had used that place to bless me, it was temporary. It was a temporary place. And again, they mocked me from the time that I entered into their program to the time that I left because I kept standing strong on my faith and was not allowing them to shake it, right? With their them trying to worry me and cause me to go into a state of panic because of their qualifications and rules of the program. And so um God had connected me to a couple of more other people that he had sent in my path in my exit from this journey at this particular program. And so I ended up getting into it, like I said, with my caseworker. Other people started coming into the office trying to. She kept referring me to go to other programs, or, oh, we don't think that you're going to make it here on the other side for permanency. So have you looked into any hotels? So she was literally trying to transition me from there into another hotel, not no permanent housing or another program. And I'm like, ma'am, God is not sending me to go back to a hotel or through another program. And if you feel like I don't qualify over there, which is a lie, because the pregnant woman that God connected me to made way less than me. Literally half the amount that I was bringing in is what she made. She didn't even make 2 times the rent, and they allowed her to go over to the permanent side. So I was just like, yeah, y'all showing favoritism. But again, this ain't got nothing to do with y'all and all to do with God, because he's about to show his hand, and y'all not going to have nothing to do with it. So got into it with the lady, talked to the director, and she was just like, yeah, she was like, you know, we're not extending you. We're gonna give you to again, it's February. We're gonna give you until March 8th to find somewhere to move. to go. And if you don't have anywhere to go, we might be willing to explore you staying here for one more month. But I mean, not one more month. A couple of more weeks. But that's it. That's it. So you need to really lock down on finding a the office was closed, and so I had to look me up like go and start searching. And so I ended up looking into like in the area because I knew that I was already 7 minutes away in the program, so I wanted to be in the same facility so I don't have to like drive too far out the way. Because I know that at that time my son was on the school bus and I wanted to be able to still be able to get him off the school bus or whatever like that, and he can come to work with me. And so because the program had the child care. So I was losing child care once I left. That's another reason why I was willing to humble myself and stay and go on the other side for 2 years because I really needed that program for the child care. I did appreciate that program for sure because they kept my son until 6:30. So now I'm having to rethink my situation. Like, okay, Lord, if I move off the premises from this program, I won't have child care unless I pay out of my pocket, right? So I had to be close so that I can be able to get my son off the bus and then bring him to work with me for the rest of my shift, which will be like after 3 p.m. because he normally got off the bus after 3 p.m. And so I went apartment shopping, okay, on a Saturday. And I had this one place in mind that I really liked. I liked it the way that the fitness center on the complex and the complex looked it, but their reviews was bad because people was complaining about the water being shut off all the time, like no explanation.